Welcome to Entrepreneur Conundrum with Virginia Purnell, where growing entrepreneurs share how they get visible online. Hey everyone! Today I am joined by Maaya Konishi, the CEO of Communica, an English education and leadership communication company focused on helping Japanese professionals thrive on the global stage. Maaya is a former investment banker turned entrepreneur who's helped more than 4,000 professionals find their voice, build confidence, and communicate with authenticity across cultures. She's also a best-selling author in Japan and a recognized authority in language
Hello,
education,
thank you so much for
leadership
having me,
communication,
Virginia.
and cross-cultural expression. Welcome, Maaya.
So, as you mentioned in my profile, I
So how
was
did you get
originally
to
in
where you
investment
are
banking.
today?
And one of the reasons why I chose investment banking was because I thought that that was a really cool thing to do and that that you were able to make a lot of money if you were an investment banker. But soon after, I realized that um, I really was not so interested in finance or M&A. And so I realized that this was not really my passion and that it can be very tough to go to work every day if you're not really interested in what you're doing. So that's when I started to do some soul searching and kind of eventually I worked up the courage to leave the company and start doing what I was really into, which was pursuing language and teaching language to people in Japan. Uh-huh.
So
In
who do
terms of my
you
current business,
who's your ideal people
my
today?
business is targeted towards Japanese people who would like to expand their business abroad or who would like to work abroad or study abroad or people who are interested in going global. However, one of my goals for Communica is for my company to become more of a global company and for me to kind of become like a global thought leader. So, in order to do that, one of the things that I want to do in the coming years is to publish a book in English in the Western world. So that's one of the things that I'm working on right now. Yeah, so I want to talk about
What would
how learning a
what would
language
your book
and
be
learning
about?
to become a leader or become a CEO is actually very similar. And so I want to talk about the similarities about kind of like learning a new language is similar to like learning the language of leadership. Yeah, that's what I think.
It really isn't a big differentiation, even though we try to make it such, eh?
You mean you mean
So
my
how do
current
you get in
business
front of
or
your
my
ideal people, your ideal avatar?
Sure. So, with my current business, I've published multiple
With
books in
Communica, or
Japan
however you
about
want to
how
answer
to
it.
learn language or to learn English and how to acquire business English. So a lot of the students that come to me for help have read my books or have read like newspaper articles or radio interviews that I've done in Japan. So that's kind of like how I meet my students in Japan. Is I've kind of established kind of like a business there, so I'm thinking like, you know, try something new.
So do you have
Actually, yes,
so do you have a business
but they're mainly Japanese
clientele that's
people who
outside of
are
Japan?
living abroad right now who feel the need to learn English. So I do online lessons with people who are living in like the US or Europe, but they're still Japanese people.
Yeah. So are there anything that you like, okay, one of two
What
things.
area?
Either that You
Right,
wish they
right.
knew
So
when
this
they
has
started
been
coming to you,
a
or just the
huge learning experience
misconceptions
for
that they
me through
have
my
when they start
journey
working with you?
of teaching at Communica. And the first one was that I thought that there's so many talented Japanese people, but just because of the language barrier, they're not able to um, be their true selves globally because they can't communicate what they're thinking. However, the more and more I worked with students, I realized that usually it's not just a language problem, but many people have communication or leadership issues. I shouldn't say issues, but some lack leadership or uh, communication skills. And I felt that those skills are so much more important than the language because language, and especially with AI, um, there's so much that AI can help in terms of how do I say this in English. So it's more about having a vision and knowing what you want to do before being able to speak in English. So actually, I talk to my students a lot about, what they want to do and what they actually want to say to people in English before studying, English grammar or English vocabulary. So I think that's one of the big misconceptions out there.
So it's kind of basically just like if we were
Yeah, yeah,
using, let's say, a learning app or whatever, like just being able to
right.
communicate with people in an everyday aspect rather than being able to do like the written word. So you had
Mm,
kind of alluded to this,
okay.
but what are
So,
some of the big
um,
goals that you are looking to achieve in
definitely
the next
publish a
one to
book
two
in English
years?
for a more Western audience. That's a big one. And then simultaneously, um, I have kind of this leadership philosophy that is based in that has kind of arisen from and is based on Japanese culture. And I want to see if I can promote that to other Asian countries and see if that, resonates with other people in Asia. So I'm doing like talks and seminars in neighboring Asian countries right now. So I think that's kind of short term 1 year goal that I'm trying to uh, that I'm working on right now. Yeah. So I think I'm
What do
learning
you feel is your
that
biggest
when
roadblock
I
on
say
that?
Asia, I thought, oh, yeah, well, since we're Asians, we're very similar and we understand each other. But when you look at each country and when you're trying to promote your book, it's just each country has their own issue, their economics, where they are and their leadership issues. So I realized that I have to kind of introduce the book in many different ways to each different country. And also kind of like finding people that I can work with in each country is also a huge task. So those are some of the things that's a huge roadblock for me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the cultural aspect is way a lot different than you'd expect.
Yeah, I do a little bit on Facebook, LinkedIn,
Are
and
you doing much
Instagram.
on social media?
Yeah.
Nice.
Um,
So, what's the best
I
advice that you
think
have ever
that
received?
you will figure out how if you have a strong why is I think a huge piece of advice that's helped me along because I think even as I'm thinking about my big goals for this year and like 1 to 3 years, I always want to know how I can accomplish these things. So like what do I need to do? Like who do I need to know? Who do I need to talk to? But I think looking back, you actually don't know how to accomplish something when you're actually at the starting point, and then when you look back, you figure out, "Oh, that's how I actually accomplished it." But I think you're always kind of like, you know, just searching for something out there, and then people will come eventually. So you actually don't need to know exactly how it's going to work out before you start. But I think a lot of people are afraid if they don't know how. So they end up kind of giving up because they think, oh, I don't know how to do it anyway. So maybe I shouldn't try. So that's a big piece of advice that's really helped me. Yeah, the momentum. Yeah.
That the momentum
Uh-huh.
aspect.
So when I
What's the best advice you've ever
quit
given?
my investment banking job, I realized how important it is to be passionate about what you're doing because that is going to motivate you every day and that's going to energize you to keep going. So, to younger students, maybe like high school, university students in in their 20s, I always tell them that it's important that you find what you're passionate about rather than how prestigious or how much money your job makes, because it will follow.
So true.
Yeah.
Do you
So
have any
again, kind
tips
of
for us on
related to your
finding your
passion,
voice in a global
I
world?
think you have to be really excited and you have to really like what you're doing or what you want to accomplish because that energy catches on. And when you're energized and when you're like, I'm very excited about this, I think people will gather around you and they want to help you out. So I think at that point, your English skills alone really don't matter, but it's just how much energy do you have? And like, are you glowing with that energy? Is I think how you find your global voice.
Is there anything you would
Um,
like to share in regards to
that
going from an investment banking to building an
there
education company?
is not a lot that I learned through investment banking that I'm using now as a as an English business owner. So I think people say, like, I need to learn these skills in my current job or my current company. But I think, yeah, you should never just do something for the sake of training or for the sake of learning a skill because whatever skills you need, you will learn afterwards. And I think that's so much more important when you learn it when you really need it. Yeah. Yeah. I think
You mean I can't prepare myself?
because when the motivation isn't there or when you're not ready or when you're not thinking about it, the lessons don't really stick with you, I feel. So now looking back, I think there was so much available for me in my investment banking job about like finance and the things that I need to know now as an owner about like uh yeah, how to file tax returns and all that. But when I was an investment banker, it was kind of more like a routine job and I was just doing what I was told that I didn't really have the the concentration and the focus that I need as a owner of a company. Does that make sense? Because now like the responsibility is on me. And then back then I was just an employee who was just like going through the movements.
Yeah.
So I feel like even though you may have had the chance to learn something, when you don't have the why and you don't understand for yourself why it's important, then you're really not learning anything anyway. So I think it's much more important that you start, where you really want to and start doing what you really want to do.
So you had kind of mentioned it already,
Yeah,
but is there anything that like about
that's a
the
good
future of
question.
English in
Um,
the age of
I
AI?
think number one, AI is developing so rapidly that it's just really hard to keep up. Um, but I think that, traditional language acquisition like courses or lessons in that, learning about grammar or learning about vocabulary. These things have become much less important than before, because if you ask AI, it will just give you an answer immediately. So there's, I think, a lot of steps that you can skip now. But if you really want to be able to converse with somebody, then you need more practice on um, pronunciation and actually, kind of like the kind of back and forth instant communication rather than, taking time and looking things up. So I think AI is really going to change a lot of uh, English acquisition. And I think schools that are going to be that are going to stay, and the schools that go out of business are really, we will see what those changes are going to be, I think, in the coming couple of years, actually.
Pretty soon.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Mia, thanks for being with us today.
No,
there
your
something that we
questions were
haven't-
very thorough.
Is there something that we haven't touched on yet that you would like to?
Yeah, so I think the best
Thank
place
you.
would be
So where can
my
we learn
LinkedIn
more about you
or
and what
my
you're up to?
corporate homepage, which would be communica.co.jp. Thank you.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe and leave some love through a review. And I'll catch you on the next episode.